Hello, everybody, and today we are going to learn about how to make meaningful connections to whatever text you are reading. So, this is week 5 of our online learning. Now, an important advantage we have in being able to make connections is that we all have varying degrees of background knowledge. Now, unfortunately, some of us will have better background knowledge than others based on how well read we are, how much news we watch, how much time we spend talking to our parents, talking about world events. Now, another word for background knowledge, as you can see on the slide, is schema. So good readers draw on prior knowledge and experience to help them understand what they are reading and are thus able to use that knowledge to make connections. Now, if you look at the picture on the left hand side, you will see it has no background colors, or the picture has been basically edited for the colors to disappear. Now, in your head, you should have a fair idea who that is. You should have a very good idea about the color of her hair, what color dress she is wearing, maybe the color of her eyes. Okay, so I'll give you 5, 6 seconds to think about how to fill in that picture. And there it is, it's Mona Lisa. So you should be able to fill that picture in based on the background knowledge that you've already gathered in your head. In your head, you're probably asking yourself why you need to make connections whilst reading. So it's actually quite important. So it helps you understand how characters feel and their motivations behind their actions. It gives you a clearer picture in your head as you are more engaged with the text. It stops you being bored in class as you are thinking constantly about trying to connect events to your own life, to the world, and to other texts. You become more actively involved and you remember what you have read in a more clearer fashion. And the first connection we are going to look at is text to self. So this is where we make connections from the story to your own life. So let's say, for example, you read about a character getting publicly embarrassed. This may have happened to you before, so therefore you can relate to how that character is feeling. So you can relate to the shame, feeling of embarrassment, the feeling of dread. So you can guess based on how you have felt how that character is going to maybe possibly act next. In this slide, we are going to look at text to self in a little bit more detail. So text to self connections are highly personal that a reader makes between a piece of reading material and the reader's own experiences or life. So while you are reading, to make connections to your own life, you should be asking yourself some questions whilst you're reading. So what does this remind me of in my life? What is this similar to in my life? How is this different from my life? And so on. So to relate the text to yourself, you need to be constantly relating the actions of the character to your own life. It's very, very important you do that, as it will give you a deeper understanding of how the character is feeling and thus how the character may react. The next connection that you should make whilst reading is text to text. So, for example, if you look at the picture here, we have Edward from Twilight and you have Harry from Harry Potter. So, let's say you have read both books. You might be reading Harry Potter after reading Twilight, and you might go, oh, that book is similar. These characters are very similar. They act in as the same way. Okay, they have the same character flaws, they do the same things, they have the same personality. So that is text to text. So how does the story relate to each other? You've also, all of you have read Oliver Twist and you have read Great Expectations. You should know now from reading Charles Dickens' books that generally there is a character, the protagonist is from a working class background who is taken advantage of by the rich. So that follows the same path throughout nearly all of Charles Dickens' stories. So whilst you are reading, I know several people in my class were like, this is very, very similar to Oliver Twist. So they were comparing the actions of Pip to the actions of Oliver. They were comparing the actions of Fagin to that of Miss Havisham. Now we're going to look at it in a little bit more detail. So sometimes when reading, readers are reminded of other things that they have read, other books by the same author, stories from a similar genre, or perhaps on the same topic. These type of connections, as we have discussed, are called text-to-text connections. Similar to text to self, you have to ask yourself some questions while you are reading the story to make these connections. If you don't ask yourself any of these questions, you will not make any connections. You will just daydream throughout the reading task. What does this remind me of in any other book that I have read? How is this text similar to other things I have read? How is it different? And it goes on. So you need to be constantly thinking as you're reading the story. The last connection we are going to discuss is when you connect the text to the outside world. So you connect what you are reading to what is happening or what has happened in the outside world. So if you look at the picture on the left, we have a picture of Gollum, who is a creature from the Lord of the Rings. So you should be asking yourself while you're reading, does a creature like that exist on planet Earth? If it doesn't, where did the character, or where did the author get his inspiration to create that character from? So does a creature or an animal similar to Gollum exist on planet Earth? If you look in the middle, you will see a picture from the movie Contagion. So let's say you watched that movie 5 years ago. You're probably relating the events in that story to real life, and you'll probably be saying that won't happen. That is unrealistic. If you watch that film now, you probably have a better idea. You'll be able to relate the events of that film to what's happening to the real world now. So, for example, lockdown, we are all wearing masks, the virus is spreading, everyone is being cautious, everyone is trying to stay safe. If you look at the picture to the right, let's say you are watching that film and you are trying to decide, does that kung fu artist or is that kung fu artist able to do that in real life, or are they able to do it, or is this just an element of fiction? So you should be racking your brains thinking, is this real? Uh, has it happened before? Where is the author getting his ideas from? Whilst reading, you should ask yourself some questions if you want to relate the text to the wider world. So you should be asking yourself, what does this remind me of in the real world? How is this text similar to events that are happening? How is it different to the events that are happening? How did that part relate to the world around me? So you need to be asking these questions constantly as you're reading the text. Now, lastly, I would like to say it's very, very important that you make connections as it brings your reading to life. It allows you to empathize with the character, it gets you into the character's mind, and therefore helps you answer the questions in a more meaningful and deeper way. If you have any questions, please do not be afraid to ask the teacher on Google Classroom. Have a good day.